Oh, that's not worked, has it?
So we finally got Class. I think. I understand that it's not on in America legally yet, so any Americans watching, I will spoil the episode in a way in a bit. When it says spoilers on screen, stop watching because it's gonna be too late for you. But before I delve into spoilers, I want to say I really loved the 2 episodes. I thought they were very different. They were far from what we know and love of Doctor Who, but it's something new to love. Because of course it's a new spin-off show. It's not Tortured, it's not Sarah Jane Adventures, it's not K9 and Company. So it's going to be brand new, and it might take a little while to get used to, but I think they're doing a good job at gradually bringing us into this new universe, which is still the Doctor Who universe, but tonally it's a new universe. All the characters are very interesting. Each of them have very integral and unique roles to play in the series, and I'm very interested to see where they go by episode 6. Is there 8 episodes or 6? The first 2 episodes are great, story-wise, character-wise, visually. They're both brilliant stories, and I think you should definitely watch them before I spoil them. So if you can, try and do that. And I understand in America that's difficult, but there may be ways to get it legally. And other countries, there's obviously streaming and catch-up services available. Now, spoilers. Episode 1. I'm going to say the one problem I have with it before I talk about how great it was. My one problem, and it's going to shock you, was the Doctor. Moments before the Doctor enters the room, a woman is stabbed through the chest and exploded, and a guy loses one of his limbs. Just let that sink in a moment. Then he runs into the room and makes jokes about IKEA. Like, that would be fine in a Doctor Who episode, because the things that might have happened before would just be someone being teleported somewhere, but someone lost a limb and someone was exploded. The Doctor has been angry about things that are far less serious than that, and the fact that he just came into the room and was the eccentric Doctor that he is, it felt off. Especially where 12 is at this point in his life. He is not the Doctor from Series 8 where he didn't care about death. Death was a thing to him that sort of just happened. This is the Doctor that has come back to being caring, and you can see that in the episode. He cares about each individual class member. I won't deny that Capaldi did a brilliant job, and I won't deny that I didn't love the bits with the Doctor, but the tone and the feel of the piece, it didn't meld well with the way the Doctor was acting. And of course the reason the Doctor was in there was because it was the first episode and they were worried about whether it would work without him. And to be honest, I'm worried if it will. Episode 2, they barely survive without the Doctor. To win the day, they sacrifice the PE teacher. Like, that's not a solution. That's just killing someone because you think you have to. Yeah, I'm worried about where the series will head without the Doctor, because episode 2 scraped through with a resolution that involves death, which works for that one because this guy did kill many people, but I just worry about where the series might head without with the resolution that involve death. I don't think it needs that. But that's my one problem is how they treated the Doctor and how he will affect the series as a whole. But specifically episode 1, I was really intrigued by Charlie and Miss Quill. Instantly, their chemistry was interesting, and it felt like something that belonged in Doctor Who. The anger she felt for him, and the way he was emotionally inept with situations about humanity and stuff. It was great. I loved it as soon as it happened. It's just an instant thing that just fits in the Doctor Who universe, and I was really happy with those two. I love all the other cast members because each of their characters are drawing on a stereotype of a student, but at the same time, the stereotype is like their exterior, and the show documents what they really are about. Ram, I think it is, he's like the jock, but then the one thing happens with his girlfriend, and everything falls apart, and he becomes a lot more insecure, and he's guilty for her death, and all the things that are happening, and it just changes this jock persona. The nerd, I can't remember her character's name, I will say there's one problem, is I kind of only remember Charlie and Miss Quill's names, and Ram because he's the focus of episode 2. Maybe mention the names a bit more often, or I've just missed them. But yes, girl with the dad and the mum that doesn't like her talking to boys. She's like the nerd, but she's actually really intelligent and wants to be rebellious, but she can't be because her mum, I guess she is kind of just the nerd though, then, because that's a nerd. Tries to be rebellious but can't be. And then April is now significant to the plot because she has the heart of the Shadowkin. No, the Shadowkin is the creatures. She has the heart of something anus. The word's on the screen now. You'll know why I think it's anus. I don't think it's anus. I just can't remember the word. But she has the heart of that species now, and I imagine that will either come back in the season finale or one of the other episodes, and I'm interested to see where that heads. I also love her character. It's, to me, the most relatable one with her insecurities and just the dorky, awkward humour, which I feel like I have. Tell me in the comments if that's true. But yes, I think it's a strong ensemble, and I think that was set out from the moment the episode 1 started. I'm happy it was 50 minutes long, because it allowed, about 20 minutes of it was just introductory stuff, and if you'd cram that into the normal 40 minutes, I think it would have lost its effect, and it would have dragged down the story, and I don't think it did. I love the location of the school, it's interesting, and I love the fact that because the Doctor's been there so many times, that's why the cracks appeared. The Doctor has made this show happen in a way which is kind of like how the show has happened. It's happening because the Doctor needed a break, and instead the Doctor broke the school. I feel like this is more of a discussion than a review. The Shadowkin and Anus, whatever his name is, were beautiful. I thought that was the greatest visual effect I've seen in Doctor Who. It was like the Pyrovile, but then there was like Vashta-Nerado, shadowy, steamy. It was just beautiful. It was a great effect, and his eyes had such emotion and such, like, they were alive, and I feel like that's one thing that Monsters CGI creations get let down in. I was terrified when there was some close-up shots of his face, and it was just like, ugh. That leads me on to another thing. Gore in these shows is, like, I've watched Torchwood. I've not seen all of Torchwood. I did get lost, I think mid-season 2. I've seen all of Miracle Day and Children of Earth, but not the main crux of 1 and 2. I don't think it's ever gotten that intense. Like, people explode and blood. Bleh. Could I get a blood montage of bits flying in the 2 episodes? Thank you. It's getting better all the time. And a lot of times I'd be like, that's enough. Like, I went and saw Hateful Eight, and my dad and I were both like, whoa, okay, that's just stupid. But I think it somehow works. It helps to ground this show in realism. Having deaths that actually have impact visually and emotionally. I'm very intrigued by the mystery of Miss Quill and Charlie. I'm intrigued by the knocking on the TARDIS door. Is that a thing? Like, he's knocking and it sounds aggressive and worried and scared? Is that a thing, or is it, we need to make sure people know the Doctor's in there, but Capaldi could only be afforded for like 2 days and we couldn't film that bit with him in the TARDIS, so we just put in some knocking sounds. And all the mysteries surrounding their species, like the cabinet with the lights in it. Like, I'm intrigued by all of that. They've done a great job, just in 50 minutes, of setting up mysteries for almost all the characters that are going to pay off, hopefully, by the end of the series. And episode 2, not bad, more character-centric, which is great. I feel like episode 1, despite the Doctor bits, was kind of like everyone's story, and maybe centrally April's, but also you've got the stuff about Miss Quill and Charlie. Maybe not then. But I definitely feel like episode 2 is Ram's story, because we see more of his dad, we see more of his just inner workings, and I thought that was great, having a character-centric story so early on, which could be disastrous, but because all of these characters are already well established, it's okay to focus on one guy's story. And possibly that's how the whole series will go on. We'll focus on each of the characters' journeys and just stories about them, because it looks like episode 3 will be focusing on nerdy girl with the mum, which I can't remember her name. Episode 2's problem was the dragon. Episode 1 they came through a crack from probably another planet, and that's fine. But episode 2, a dragon fell on him and became a tattoo. I just felt there wasn't any explanation for that, and I don't know if they will be. Whereas the Anuses and the Shadowkin, I will remember the name one day, will be back, because we've got this link to April and the heart thing. I feel like the dragons are gone. Like, that's not going to come back. It was more like the monster just finished. Like, it just existed to rip people's flesh off. And I felt like that wasn't... It wasn't explained where it came from. It wasn't explained how it functions on him. How any of that mixes together. And I just feel like I wish there was more. You have 40 minutes and you kind of didn't give us anything about that. Which kind of then made the PE teacher the baddie of the episode. Which was interesting to have a human being as the baddie. But then... he's bad because he's being controlled by this dragon tattoo. Music-wise, this series is definitely different to Doctor Who. It's obvious it's not Murray Gold, and whoever it is composing it is doing a brilliant job at creating a unique feel for the show. It's a lot more modern, a lot more youthy, and I think that's great for the way this show is heading. It's got to fit with the culture that it's trying to portray. A great example of that is when the Doctor's theme plays when Capaldi enters, and it's very grungy and very electronic.
Dying well? Who wants to die well? Surely the aim should be not dying well.
And that was great. It suited with the environment and everything that was happening. And it also was just the Doctor's theme sounding awesome, and I loved it. Also, speaking about the Doctor's theme, they played the like RTD Eccleston Tennant theme when the Doctor's TARDIS landed on their planet. That was... I was screaming internally. I was watching with Mum and Dad, so I couldn't externally scream. I could, but that'd be awkward. And I just thought, oh, they're using this old theme, and it's there. Just whenever that theme pops in. It was in Day of the Doctor as well for a little bit, and every now and then it flows in and out, and I love it, and I think it works well for a dramatic entrance for the Doctor. And visually this show is very different to Doctor Who, Sarah Jane or Torchwood. There's a lot less depth of field, it's a lot of blurred backgrounds. It's a very modern looking show. It's very clean, it's very high contrast sort of colours, and I think it's great. I think it's very unique, and it's something I don't watch very often, so I enjoy it. It's cool. It's very well directed as well. Despite all the gore, you never see too much, you never go, oh, I want to throw up. It's kind of like, it's the perfect balance between showing too little and showing too much. There's always a moment where I'm like, I kind of want to see more of the dead man with the no flesh, but also, you're showing me enough, guys. I think that's a weird place to end. I want to know what you thought about Class, so let me know down in the comments, and next week, when I review episode 3, I'll read out some of the best answers. Tell me about what you thought about the gore. Tell me what you thought about the Doctor being in there. Just tell me everything. But to a limit, because I don't want to talk for too long next week. This is already probably 20 minutes. I hope not. I hope it's like 15. That'd be good. I'm ruining it. I'm making it longer now. Shall we wait until that turns off? I think not. I worked out that this is a nice background feature. So I'll have that on.